right, welcome to the second review of the evening. Sky Chase, no, Sky Gambler's Afterburner, if I'm remembering that correctly.
You got it correct.
Yeah. Not to be confused with anything from Sega. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it's got that Afterburner subtitle here. Considering that, when you think of jet games, you might think of the original Afterburner. This is not. This has nothing to do with that. It is from a company called Atypical Games. It is a new release on the Nintendo Switch, and since it's a Nintendo Switch release, we turn things over to the Galax.
Yeah. So the Sky Gamblers is a series. Apparently, the previous one, what was it, Storm Raiders or something, is also on the Switch, and there are a couple others that are primarily on iOS and OS X, which kind of helps explain some things to me because this game is it's a military flight simulator, and it's a little rough, I think. It's of the sort where the main focus is clearly the multiplayer. The single player is just 2 tutorials and then a 15 mission campaign. And then you can do custom missions, but those are just unique things. The missions also aren't even that long. It's a fairly generic. Oh no, a military officer has gone rogue, chase them down. At least as far as I got. I didn't finish it or anything. And unfortunately, though I have tried 3 or 4 times, I have not been able to actually play in multiplayer because whenever I have checked, there has not been anyone in any rooms. So,
I mean, we get games that are not popular online fairly often.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying I can't judge based on the how the performance or the netcode would have been. I know that's an issue sometimes with the Switch, but I literally can't say one way or the other.
Now, does this say if this requires the Nintendo Switch paid subscription thing to go online, or?
It doesn't say. I almost think it doesn't, but it probably does because most things do. I remember there was one game that doesn't, but I forget if this is it or if I was looking at something else. It was something show related, but I can check it out. So yeah, so the main thing I think the single player is for is getting used to the controls, which are a little bit weird. You have an option between more simulation-like and more arcade-like controls, which mostly involves the yaw versus pitch turning. No, yaw versus roll turning. In the more casual mode, you automatically tilt as you yaw to turn instead of having to do both. Honestly, the controls are a little bit wonky, especially because the left control stick is up and down on that is the throttle, and left and right are yaw in simulation mode, I think. But in casual mode, left and right don't do anything on the right stick, and you steer left and right as well as up and down with the right stick. The buttons are mostly for squadron commands and camera angle changes, so pretty much the shooting is right trigger and right button. Right button does missiles, which, this being a relatively modern planes thing, missiles are more important than guns most of the time, although the guns aren't as useless as I expected them to be. A lot of the earlier games in this series are earlier, and therefore guns were more relevant at that point in, military aviation. What the game does have is a large number of planes to unlock with in-game currency, which there's no way to spend money on it. You have to earn it by playing. And better weapons the planes have better performance and better weapons, and you can also customize your plane with upgrades that you can buy with currency, and you can repaint it. each plane has like a 4 or 5 part color scheme, and you can adjust each part of the color scheme separately. It's usually like 1 for a nose cone, and then like 3 of the colors are like digital camo patterns or whatever. And you can also set randoms, and there is a skins option that I didn't really play around with much, but you can change the appearance that way. So if you want to. Oh, the skins are different patterns that you can do instead of digital camo. And there are badges you can put on the wings and stuff. So clearly the meat of the game is multiplayer, since there is a really deep unlock tree and stuff. Like, you have to unlock multiple different planes to unlock planes from the next level of the tech tree, and the tech tree is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's 16 planes deep to get to the highest level plane, which is called the Monster Punch. They all have funny names to probably cover over the fact that many of them are closely based on real planes.
But this isn't actual planes like would have been used for war and whatnot. They're just kind of like recreations.
The Frost Thunder, for example, which is one of the latest ones, the furthest ones down the tech tree, looks an awful lot like an F-22. But they don't use the actual names for any of them, and I'm not a military aviation expert, so I can't tell you which one is which exactly.
So basically, if you're looking to fly an actual F-22 in-game, you might want to look elsewhere.
Well, I mean, Ace Combat is a thing. That's one of the problems with this game, is that Ace Combat is a thing.
Yeah. I wasn't going to mention it by name, but yes.
Yeah, I guess Ace Combat isn't really a thing on the Switch, so there's that. But yeah, and I don't think you get to I haven't been able to select my planes in the single player, and you have to play on, there are 3 difficulty selections: easy, medium, and hard. There might even be a harder one if you complete something on hard. And you basically, while you'll unlock the next stage if you play on easy, you don't actually get to keep the currency or experience you earn, I think, if you don't play on at least medium. So single player is really kind of not that much. There are checkpoints in the missions, and if you fail, you can restart from a checkpoint at least a certain number of times. I've never had it say, no, you died. There is a eject button that you're supposed to use when your plane gets low on durability, so you don't, I guess, die, because you are playing the same character throughout the single player. But I think also that, well, it doesn't help if you die because you accidentally fly into the con tower of a submarine or something, which happened to me a few times because I'm not actually great at flight sims. But the biggest issue that I really had with this game is that the load times are like a minute or 2, which is kind of long.
How big are the stages?
Are they like Anthem long?
I haven't seen how bad Anthem is, but literally like 1 to 2 minute loading times.
And that's up there.
For loading the stage, and then if you die, going back to a checkpoint takes that amount of time again.
I mean,
thankfully the in-level cinematics are probably part of the reason it's long. They seem to be like preloaded or something, because it doesn't need to like take a huge break to load those. But yeah, it's not. It's a little bit clunky because of that, and the controls are not really customizable, which I kind of wish they were. Because some things, like you can choose whether to invert your y-axis, but it doesn't do anything. Like, you can't change your x-axis controls, and you don't seem to be able to change what button is mapped to anything. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not like as good as I feel like it should be. And I'm not even a connoisseur of flight simulators, so someone who's really more into it than me might have. And I don't recommend this as like your first flight simulator. because the tutorial doesn't even cover any stuff about weapons. Literally, the first part of the tutorial is telling you what your HUD does, and the second one is like basic controls. Also, stalling is really unrealistic in this. You pretty much just need to increase your speed to get out of a stall, rather than I know nothing about flight sims, and I know that when you're stalling, what you do is you nose down and try to speed up so that you can pull out of it. So yeah, I really don't have a ton to say about it. I had a decent time with it once I stopped sucking, and at first I was just not getting some of the controls and stuff, but when I tried to apply myself to it again, it was okay. But it's also just not super fun, and there's not a whole ton here unless there turns out to be a online community or a multiplayer community that I'm just not. And it seems to be only online multiplayer. I'm not seeing anything for local.
That's odd for the Switch.
Indeed.
So yeah, there's not really. I guess if you want to play and unlock stuff, you can do that, but I just went into quick play and it seems to be finding me with something, but there wasn't any separate rooms, so yeah, I don't. It's serviceable, but I feel like they're waiting for more players is what it's got me to now. So yeah, it's not like I don't think there's any merit to it, but it's not a whole lot. I feel like there are a lot of better things you could do with a flight simulator type game, even if you're for whatever kind of flight simulator game you're actually into. I feel like there's probably something at least a little bit better than this, although maybe not on the Switch. I haven't really looked a ton into what the Switch has for flight simulators. So that's really, I'm sorry, I don't have a ton of detail. It's not like I have a ton of experience with other flight simulators to compare it to, but
I mean, there's not that many that get churned out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, Ace Combat was really it, and that one Tom Clancy one that just kind of died recently.
Well, this game is significantly less expensive than this. This is like a $10 game, I think. So, if you wanted to get it and try it out, that's fine. It's not unplayable, but if you want, I have some friends who are pretty into this kind of game, and they're usually into things like Ace Combat and stuff. And this, like I said, the story in this is fairly simple, I think. So you're not missing out on much if you go with something else, I think. But
is that it?
Pretty much. I'm sorry I don't have more to say, but this seems like a pretty basic flight simulator type game. And again, I was not able to play with friends, and I feel like with that deep of a tech tree or an unlock tree for getting cooler planes, that's intended to be sort of the main thing.
All right then. So that I guess that'll be it on Sky Gamblers here. Coming up after the break, we will be reviewing Silver.